Welcome back to Ditch the Diet and Face the Feelings with Sharon Froshin, Samantha Dagus, Sarah Wallen, and Beth Gray. So today we're going to talk all about body image. What does that bring up for you guys? I know for me, that brings up that whole idea of thunder thighs and of, oh, I can't wear this bikini and I don't have a summer body. And oh my God, I'm so white. Why would I even step outside?
I think we're related.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I wore my kimono today.
I took my bra off before this session started.
Oh, I'm glad you have
stand up or anything.
Oh, come
I
on.
never had one on.
Who doesn't come home from the office and just take it straight off? Come on, let's be real.
Oh, yeah. Before your shoes
There's
even.
nothing better than just getting home and going, the first thing I'm doing as I walk in the doors, I got to get this thing off. Well, after the shoes.
It makes no difference. It doesn't feel any different to me.
You look great, Sharon, whatever you're wearing.
Yeah. So, okay, but really, body image. I know, and probably all of you, I grew up with a mom saying that she was fat. And we talked about this a bit before. I think the time before last, not so much last time. How, and that sticks with you. That idea of mom always saying that she was fat. And when I look at the photos now, I'm like, damn, she was fat. And I go through exactly that same process of, oh my God, I'm so fat. Oh my God, I've got too much, I've got rolls around my waist. Oh, there's extra flabby skin on my back. My thighs rub. All of those things that, one, you're taught, and two, just the whole body image of what marketing is of Twiggy versus Marilyn Monroe, I
think it's the same for people of all sizes as well, because I've been all sizes, and it doesn't matter what size or shape you are, you're going to have, fat days, and you're going to think, ugh. Yeah.
Well, okay, there's always going to be fat days. But I mean, just overall, thinking back, and I think, Sarah, you and I once in a coaching session talked about, when were you ever totally happy with your body? We went back to like 13 years old when you were totally unself-conscious and you didn't actually think about your body. As opposed to, when you were 18, how did you feel about it? When you were 21, how did you feel about it? When you were 25, and every time there was, well, when I get to, when I do.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is, but when I am thin, I feel so much more personal power.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been thin. This is an ancient recollection that I'm having, but it just felt, I don't know. I feel so much more easily in touch with my body, I guess, because I'm approving of it rather than judging it. You can't really be comfortably in your body if you're judging it.
Mm-hmm. But what if you approved of it now? What if you loved it now?
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Just try that on for a minute. Yes, really,
seriously, why not?
No, I can't get there, honestly.
You haven't got there yet.
Yeah, I have not achieved that yet. Yeah.
One of the things that is really telling is that I used to wear 3-piece suits, like men's 3-piece suits, ties, wingtips. I dressed like a man, a damn well-dressed man, but a man. And I remember feeling such a sense of relief at the fact that I felt no pressure for my body to look a certain way.
Okay.
When I dressed masculinely, when I behaved masculinely, because before I went through that inpatient treatment program to deal with the sexual assault in the military, I did not like drawing any feminine attention to myself whatsoever.
Okay.
So I went out of my way to be masculine. And it is amazing the sense of relief you feel as a woman who was raised with a mother who constantly talked about her weight and downed her body image, when all of a sudden, like, there is a palpable change in the way society treats you when it comes to how your body looks. And I remember thinking, I went feminine for a while and then have come back to being more androgynous. But I remember thinking before going feminine, I don't want to do this. There's so much more pressure. I have to think about the way I look when I leave the house. And the thing that really irritates me about feminism is that these are things that are being passed from mothers to daughters. This isn't being passed from a father to a daughter. This is mothers teaching their daughters this with the way that we talk. And then we turn around and blame men for our belief systems when we get our belief systems 0 to 7, when we're still with our mothers, but we make it men's fault. And men didn't do that to us. We did that to ourselves, woman to woman.
Well, I will say that I did this to myself, but I don't recall my mom ever talking about body image, mostly because my mom wouldn't ever talk about anything. But my issues started because my dad and my brothers always teased me about being fat, about being chubby, about, being chunky. And so I drew my own conclusion that to be, accepted or considered attractive or pretty, or for somebody to want me, that I had to be thin. But it never came from my mom.
Wow, that's pretty. I mean, that's awesome in a way. Unfortunately, it came from your dad and your brothers, but it's pretty cool that it didn't come from your mom.
Yeah.
For me, it was a combination of things. It definitely came from my mother. The last time I was not conscious of my body I was probably 6 or 7. And my mum took me to a doctor and said, "Doctor, she's fat. What can we do?"
Oh,
and I got measured and prodded and poked, and it was a really horrible cold environment. And I remember the only memory I've got is that I had to eat cabbage and potatoes, and the doctor, he never spoke to me. Neither of them did. They just measured me and talked about me. And I remember coming away from there thinking, what have I done? Thinking, there's something wrong with me, obviously, because I've just been to a doctor. And that was the last, that was, I think that, wasn't the nicest of times. And then my dad, who, I'm a bit of a daddy's girl, we're best friends. But he had this thing where whatever you were eating, or whether you should have been eating it or not, he would creep up behind me and go, "What are you eating?" So I'd be like, oh. So that kind of developed to, oh my God, I've got to eat before Dad comes in the room. And And then it was kind of an approval thing. So Mum started taking me to weight loss classes. And I'd say, Dad, I lost a pound this week. He goes, great. So you can lose 2 next week then. It was sort of constantly.
Never quite good enough, though.
Yeah. So not a very happy history for me in terms of body image, really. Nothing was ever really good enough.
I mean, I was lucky that, yes, I had Mom always talking about her feeling and how she felt about her body, but I never felt that pressure from either Mom or Dad of, careful with how much weight you put on and all that sort of stuff. But I do remember that because Mom was a nurse, she was very much focused on, are you eating healthily?
Mm-hmm.
So she'd be very much of eat your grains. Yes, of course, there was always dessert at our house. Every dinner there was dessert. But it was definitely a place in which we always had greens, There was, that plate of, you had your veggies, your meat, and your carbs, and then there was dessert afterwards. But, Mom was very much, as long as I can remember, yogurt and bananas for breakfast was quite normal in my house, and I mean yogurt as in homemade, no sweetening. As far as she was concerned, the sweetening came from the bananas. That's what you had the bananas for. Or, okay, you can put some honey on it if you can't take it straight. So there was, I didn't have that, but I always have playing in my mind Mom's comments about, oh, I need to do more exercise. Oh, I need to lose more weight. Oh, I'm putting on so much weight. And now when I realized that so much weight was, like 15 pounds over 5 years, but, it was so much weight.
One of the most traumatic body image experiences I had was in the military, because after the sexual assault happened, I started turning to food for comfort, and I started putting on a lot of weight and quickly. And there's nothing quite as embarrassing as having some fat, sweaty male sergeant measuring you and talking to you about how you need to lose weight. And this guy weighs 250 freaking pounds, and I remember just feeling filthy and leaving that room and knowing there being very obvious double standards that had been defined for me between men and women, and just being angry that he didn't have to experience that humiliation, but I did. Yeah. And of course, that's a recurring theme in our culture. Angry that he didn't have to experience something that I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing about body image, I don't know if it's the same over there, but guys that are overweight over here are kind of cuddly and jolly.
Yeah, the
women
dad
that are overweight are, to be ostracized and excluded, or out and out ignored. I mean, I've been in meetings where people will just look straight through me rather than, and I can see, some of them double take when they're talking to me, or they're looking at everything other than, my face when they're talking to me. It just gets exhausting, and I'm so lucky that a couple of years ago that I switched my brain around to no longer giving a shit, what people think. I can't afford to. That has to be their problem, not mine. I switched my brain around to no longer giving a shit. What people think. I can't afford to. That has to be their problem, not mine.
So I had a question. How do you guys talk to yourselves? Say each morning, each afternoon. What's that inner voice sound like?
I do a lot of intentions work early in the morning, affirmations, gratitude, and chanting.
Yeah.
So I tend to talk to myself pretty well.
Yeah.
Overall. Now I still have bad periods of guys, I'm getting fresh baked oatmeal cookies delivered. Thank you, baby. Out of the oven, agave instead of
what
sugar.
Did you do?
I'm that good, guys. I know I did totally win the lottery. You just have no idea.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
You earned it. You earned the lottery.
Yeah.
She's so good to me. I think these actually have cacao in them too. She makes me little superfood treats.
Oh, that is so lovely, lovely, lovely. So going back to how do we talk to ourselves? Sarah, what does that voice inside your head say to yourself on a daily basis?
I'm pretty encouraging of myself by and large, but to be, really honest about it, I'm also hypercritical and judgmental of myself. And I have to catch myself in those kind of thoughts and turn them around and go back into cheerleader mode and say, Come on.
Yeah.
Bring your gifts forward. What do you have to offer?
Yeah. Hey, Sam, are you still with us or did you totally freeze out?
Did we lose Sammy D?
I don't know. She's very frozen there.
The best picture of her ever.
Pissed about my oatmeal cookies.
Yeah, she's on her way to that one.
Screw you and your
she went
oatmeal
to the
cookies.
kitchen to get something. Yeah.
Coming at you.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that, I saw this week was, just that constant telling of yourself of I am enough.
Yeah.
I am beautiful enough. I am strong enough. I am healthy enough, but I am enough.
That's why I really like that movie, The Greatest Showman. I love that theme in The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, I noticed it, especially, March, April, May, I felt like I was literally at my fattest, the heaviest I'd ever been in my life, and then once I started getting into energetics, with Sarah, with Wendy, looking at facing the feelings and dealing with the emotions and dealing with what was happening in life, building the life that I want as opposed to the life that I have. And instead of hiding in food, instead of using food as my way to just suppress whatever's going on, saying, okay, no, I'm going to sit in the discomfort and find out what's there. And of course, being lucky enough and great enough that, I can actually, within all of this, have every week coaching sessions with Sarah and with Wendy to deal with whatever's coming up. But what was fascinating is that when you sit in that discomfort, at least for me, the what was coming up was not body image. What was coming up was the things that I wasn't expressing, that I'd lost my voice. And that particularly was the strongest one, is until you find your voice again, until you actually start speaking your truth, you're going to have to keep swallowing food to cover it up. And, that for me, that recognition of actually, it's not about my body image. It's about what am I not doing with my life? And that's been a really amazing lesson and journey. Yes, do I like my body better now than I did 4 months ago? Absolutely. I'm absolutely so much happier. And yet I'm still in the same pair of pants. So while they're looser, I haven't just totally, just gone down a whole size. No. I'm just happier with who I am. And I do notice that, yes, I've lost that weight around the middle where we women, when we're stressed, tend to put it on, that diabetes stomach that none of us want to have, that unhealthy place. I've lost that. And that was the best thing that I did for myself, was that I know that I've still got the same arms. I've still got the same thighs. They're exactly as they were, but I lost the one that was really worrying me health-wise. So what about you, Sam? Because I know you've lost a ton.
I have lost a ton, and I've got another ton to go, but I'm in a different frame of mind. I mean, over a year ago, I was in a state where, I could barely walk. I couldn't cross the street without being out of breath, and, I was up to the eyeballs stressed, and it was terrible. And what kind of happened was, I stopped working where I was working, which was a chronically toxic environment. And my stress levels went down, and I started writing my book. So that was quite cathartic. putting all that out. It was just pouring out of me, all this, stuff. And without really, I wasn't thinking about food, or I wasn't obsessing over it. And because I'd relaxed and I'd taken up meditation at the time, and I was writing and I was doing something I loved, and my stress levels were lowered, off it went. Because I didn't even weigh myself. And it happened that I used to use my fitness pal, to log all the weights and blah, blah, blah. And I hadn't done that for a couple of years. And I put something on that I couldn't even get up a leg, like a year before, you couldn't even look at it. And it was falling off me. And I'm like, well, I didn't feel any different. And that was when I got on the scales and I had to do a cartoon double take, because I really felt like I hadn't, done anything different. But I had. My stress levels were lowered. I was meditating, so I was feeling better about myself. I was changing my voices in the morning to say, "You're okay, you're looking great." And I was doing something I love. So all that positivity, I think, contributed a great deal. So now I'm kind of building on that with giving up meat, going plant-based, and affirmations and that kind of thing. So I'm not really thinking about the fact that I've got a way to go. And I definitely feel different about my body image, because I don't look at it and hate it now. I just think, well, okay, I haven't driven this flesh bag very well for the last, 20 years, but I'm fixing that. And there's so much more to me than, flabby arms, there's just more to me than that. And I like the me that's inside, So
that's awesome. And that's great to hear, because I think that's one of the things that both Sharon and Sarah could speak to, is that self-love of, I love the person inside.
Yeah. And when I think of the amount of years, my self-hatred stole my life, because I wouldn't go somewhere because I looked, or I wouldn't talk to a certain person because I was frightened, it steals your life, and there's a lot of women going through just that right now. Yeah. And that's who I want to help,
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to hear from either Sharon or Sarah about that self-talk of, loving the inner you and letting that be who you see each day, as opposed to the body that you're wearing.
I love that. I'm a big proponent of proponent. Proponent. What is that? Proponent and boner added together? What did I just do there?
It's the cookie.
My God, I'm a huge proponent of understanding that this is not who I am. Mm-hmm. This is not me. This is a tool that I'm using to explore where I live, but this isn't me. Like, I've been here hundreds of times, and each time this has been different, but I've been the same. So one of the most important parts of letting up on myself is stopping to identify with this. If I identify with this and this starts to break down, as it's meant to do, we're not meant to be immortal in human form. We're immortal spiritually, but we're not meant to be immortal in human form. So then we get afraid of death. I'm not in the least bit afraid of death, because this isn't who I am. And I'm very aware that this body is not who I am. So it makes it a lot easier when you consider the comedy of what we would do if Buzz Aldrin came back from outer space and started talking about how his spacesuit was fat. How would we treat him? we'd put him away. That's what we'd fucking do. We'd put him away because he's lost something's a little crazy, but that's what we do. We talk about how we're fat because this thing that we happen to reside in is too big. You are not fat. You are infinite. You are without form. You are without space, time, or origin. You have nothing to do with this body. And it's one of the biggest lies and the biggest ways that we have been stolen from is that religion has taught us that this is who we are. And we're not the body. We're not. So whatever you feel about your body, feel free to feel it, but don't feel that about you, because that's not who you are. Feel free to have your opinions about your body. I'm sure that every astronaut out there can say that he's had opinions about his spacesuit, but I can guarantee that he didn't fight it in outer space, that he didn't feed it bad stuff and not charge it and not clean the air vents. I can guarantee he took good care of that spacesuit, because otherwise he's going to die. Well, for the same reason, you take care of your spacesuit, because this is technology that has been handed to you to have a human experience. And we have to understand that this isn't who we are.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sharon.
So well stated.
Except for the proponer.
I don't know. I mean,
Wow, you know.
Word of the day.
Be like Kane, he's always making up words. I think that just to take another perspective on what Sharon is talking about, I know that when I am fully aligned and present with somebody else, I have absolutely no sense of my physical body. I'm just there in essence, in spirit, and there is no size or weight to it. And that's who I really am. This is just some lesson I'm learning right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Shirley Billinger says to us all the time, just put size and weight up on the shelf, you know, because it's irrelevant. Realistically, what is relevant is, what are you doing? Where are you focusing your energy? Where are you focusing your time? What are you trying to achieve? And where is your size and weight getting in the way of that? That you're allowing that either to be an excuse, or you're simply so focused on that you're not functioning in all the rest of life, you know, and it's the same as that whole thing of life-work balance. There is no work-life balance. There's just life. You know, we're not sent here to, you know, figure out, well, I'm going to spend 32% of my time in the office, and I'm going to spend 21% of my time, you know, in sports and having fun. And then, you know, no, that's not work-life balance. There's just life. You know, so that whole thing of, you know, my size and weight, my body image, you know, this is just me. And either I'm taking care of myself in every sense of the word, or I'm not.
And I think that part of what comes from wandering away from my body and how I look to this not being me is that we start eating like this body's technology. Because as long as this body is who I am, well, then I can do what I want to myself. But if this isn't really who I am, and this really is how I'm surviving this environment, well, then I better take care of it.
Yeah.
Take care of our spacesuits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and there's, you know, there's that idea in some religions of our body as a temple. Well, if my body is a temple, how am I treating my temple?
Exactly.
You know, if this is my temple, am I treating it with honor and reverence?
There was a long period of my life where I most certainly was not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank goodness for duct tape. I am
think
loving
everyone has those phases, though.
Imagery, because so I can identify with the Buzz Lightyear so much easier than I can with my body as a temple, because I wasn't raised with any religion and I'm not a particularly religious person. But I totally want to take care of my spacesuit now. I don't want any holes in it. I'm going to always make sure I have duct tape and take good care of that sucker.
And you have to submerge it now and again to check for holes.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah. And just hook it up to
one of the funniest t-shirts I ever saw said, duct tape is silver, silence is golden, duct tape is silver. So in other words, they're the same thing. I love duct tape.
Options.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, so final thoughts, ladies, on body image and how can we help and support other women or even other people, it doesn't have to be women, with their body image? What kind of conversation should we be having?
I think we need to find out what they're saying to themselves. Because if they're waking up every day saying, "What did you eat yesterday, you fat cow?" That's never going to end well. So, I mean, it has to start from within, I think.
Yeah, the internal dialogue, and just recognizing that this is just the container that we're in right now, and it changes every single day, one way or the other. So we've got the power to control which direction it changes, for the better or for the worse. But there's no such thing as staying the same. So we might as well make good decisions, take good care of our spacesuits, and
and keep a roll of duct tape on hand. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I was going to say to infinity and beyond, weren't you?
That's absolutely where I was going with that. But also, I think just to talk about it and to, there's so much pressure to have that perfect body, whatever that is. And, but to talk about it and to allow other people to talk about it and to learn how to reframe things so that you're not being judgmental. You might be being realistic and that you're not in the most healthy state of being if you're carrying a lot of excess weight, or conversely, if you are anorexic and you're not carrying enough weight. But to just simply meet yourself where you are and be open and join the Nourish community, because we're just all about uplifting and supporting each other wherever we're at.
Definitely.
Yeah. I know I had an experience day before yesterday. I was out with Isabella and she was playing, and there was a giant big puddle, and she was wearing her pretty little pink sparkly shoes. And I was like, just please don't get in the puddle. Well, she proceeds to try to jump the puddle and, of course, lands halfway in the middle, as kids do. And she was like, my brain said I could do it, but my legs didn't make it. And she was like, stupid legs. And I was like, no, well, I can understand that your brain said you could do it and your legs didn't jump far enough, but maybe your legs just needed to practice more. And she's like, legs, you need to practice. But the thing that came to mind was like, okay, the last part of this conversation is not going to be stupid legs. We are not finishing this conversation on that note. We're finishing this conversation on something more positive, because my thought was, okay, no, I get what your rationale and your thinking about this is, but that's not where I want this to finish. This is not where I want us to finish this conversation of you thinking your legs are stupid.
Great turnaround.
Yeah. But, you know,
so the legs were great. They were just not puddle jumping great.
Not quite yet.
Yeah, they're just
not there yet.
They just needed a bit more practice. What was really funny is the next day we went back and she jumped it. And she says to me, "Oh, the sun came out and it dried up the puddle a little bit." I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, The puddle was just too big yesterday." And I'm like, "Okay."
She's adorable.
Yeah, the wisdom of children.
I think another thing that really helps is if there's something that you don't like about your body, turn your perception of that around. I'll give the example of like Kimmy really hates her stomach. She doesn't like her stomach. She has, a lot of fat around her tummy. And probably like the 8th or 9th day that I knew her, I gave her tummy a nickname. And I nicknamed it Missy because she was always talking about how much she hated her tummy. And now when she talks about her stomach, she talks about it with affection. Because I don't know if any of you here watch South Park, but there's this episode of South Park where they talk about your bottom bitch, the woman that you go to, no matter what happens, you can always depend on them. And so I call her Missy, her bottom bitch, because she's always been with her, always stays with her, always around. And all of a sudden, like Missy's her road dog. She's fine with her stomach. She doesn't get upset with it anymore. So if there's something that's particularly giving you a great deal of struggle where you really hate it, flip the switch on that. Give it a nickname. Start to show it some love. Because most of the time when we hate stuff like that, there's a limiting belief underneath it. There's a belief that what you're saying or what you're seeing means something that it doesn't. And activity doesn't always equal what you get, the consequence. There's a belief in there. There's a belief in between the activity and the consequence that's actually causing that, which is why Beth and I can experience the same thing and have two completely different experiences because we have two different underlying beliefs for what we just saw. So if you can change your belief systems by giving that part of your body you hate so much a nickname, then that actually changes your reality surrounding how you relate to that body part.
And perception is reality. So
yeah,
it is.
Well, I'll admit when I at 21 got braces finally, which I paid for myself, put on myself, and fixed my teeth. The difference in the way I felt about myself changed so dramatically just about that smile. And I had friends a few years later. One of my friends was going to get her boobs done. And everyone's like, "Oh, she shouldn't do that and this, that, and the other." And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shut up here. It's her body. And if that's going to make her feel like she has the perfect body, fine. I disagree with it on medical reasons because I don't think it's a healthy choice. But I also understand that I got braces and the difference that made for me was just life-changing. So I know friends, guys that have got their ears done. They had the elephant ears and they had them pinned back or whatever. I'm never going to criticize that person because I know what changing my smile did for me. And there are some people that are perfectly happy with that buck-tooth smile. I was not one of them.
Yeah.
And so I do have that understanding of, okay, there's some things that we feel so, I know for me, I smile like, don't open your mouth, whatever you do.
Yeah, my kid sister did for years, and none of us noticed. She was my kid sister. I didn't look at her and think, "Oh, your teeth are funny."
No, the only person that notices is you. You're the only person.
Yeah, when she went to get braces and everything fixed, and I said, "Why?" She said, "Because it bothers me." And I said,
"Yeah,
well, good on you." But none of us ever noticed. No. And she never said it bothered her, but it clearly did.
Well, it bothered me enough to go spend money on it and do something about it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, after that, I am religious about brushing my teeth, because obviously when you've got braces, you brush your teeth so many times a day. It kind of sticks with you for the rest of your life.
I remember my orthodontist used to say, brush them till they bleed.
Not sure if I agree with that, but okay. Yeah. But I mean, this whole thing of, that body image, this is just what we're wearing. Like Sharon says, it's our spacesuit. Are we taking care of it?
I think what's important about what you are saying, Beth and Sam, is that if there is something that you don't like about your body for your own specific reasons and you want to change it, that's entirely up to you, and that's okay. But if you're going through all of those changes or because of what you perceive to be beautiful because of what marketing tells us, then that's all the wrong reasons. But if it's something that's internal, that's to my mind.
And I know I've become, but it's that whole thing of not judging somebody else.
Yeah.
Of if somebody is comfortable with their body, not judging them. And if they want to make a change, supporting them. Yeah. Being there for each other wherever that person is at. Supporting them to be healthy, obviously. Supporting them to be fit, to live a good and long life, absolutely.
I always like to talk to people, though, about the fact that if we constantly change our physical bodies to feel better about ourselves, and I'm not talking about braces, I'm talking about, I know people who will change their body and go through all this stuff because they're not happy with it. When we feed the ego the message that if you're not happy with it, I will change it, your ego will spend your entire life coming up with reasons for you to change your body instead of learn to be okay with your body the way it is, which is where your true freedom lies.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not talking about braces. I'm talking about somebody who does braces, breast implants, butt implants, pec implants, to look a certain way. There will never be enough surgery to fill that hole for you.
Oh, absolutely.
There will never be enough surgery, not enough braces. Not the only way to fill that hole is for you to be okay with it.
Yes. And that's just, it's going back to that, what Sam said about that beauty inside.
Yeah. Yes.
Of seeing yourself.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful guided meditation that I like to do with clients who are struggling with food issues, where I take them completely inside and away from the body and get them to imagine what they look like, who they truly are inside of that body, because then it gives us something to land on. We're human beings. We need a landing pad. We need something familiar. And if I can give a client a whole new version of themselves that doesn't include this physical body, it's absolutely life-changing for them.
Oh, absolutely. Because then every morning they can see that in the mirror.
Exactly.
And the most profound thing for me was something Sharon said, actually, and that's the ability to look at your body is not you. It's the suit that you're in. And so being able to have that really distinct separation was just profound for me. Because now when I go to eat, I'm like, okay, what does this thing need? Yeah. Rather than, I feel terrible, I'm going to eat this donut so I can feel better.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's life-changing. If we see ourselves as the spirit inside the suit, and just having that separation has driven me to, make those changes. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What also makes it so important is that if I'm in focusing on my spirit, what do I want to fix? My spirit. Yeah. I'm not investing all my time and effort into this belief that if I just change one more thing, I'll be enough. Right. When you focus inward, when you take yourself away from this spacesuit and into who you truly are, all of a sudden, just breathing is finally enough.
Yeah.
You are finally enough. There's no weight to be lost.
Finally,
There's no muscles. You are enough in there.
Yeah. And you know, you finally realize how amazing it all is, really.
Absolutely.
Life opens up to you.
Yeah.
Floating around.
Yeah. And I think that that's the beauty, because then you have energy of, I want to do exercise. I want to have activity. I want to have a body that allows me to go play in the park with my daughter. Not because
climb Mount Everest if you want.
Absolutely. But not because it's about my body so much as because it's the life I want to have and lead.
Exactly.
You know, and if we could look at what kind of life do I want to have instead of what body, that makes, you know.
Can I get an amen?
Oh no, Sarah doesn't do the spiritual, man. Sarah.
Well, I do spiritual, just not religious.
Oh, okay, sorry. So yeah, absolutely. You know, we don't, you know, if we could just focus on what kind of life do we want to have. Mm-hmm. All right, ladies, wrapping up. Any final thoughts and comments about body image?
I don't particularly care for thin women, because I find that women should have curves. Women should have curves. Women should not be washboards. Women should not be twigs. Women should not be the size of my pinky finger. Women were meant to be soft and warm and comforting. So the next time your head starts on you about how your stomach's not flat enough or your butt's too big, you remember this lesbian telling you that a little junk in the trunk is the shit. Okay? Love you, ladies.
I have nothing to say that could top that.
The only thing I have left to say is come join us in Nourish, because it will nourish your soul. There are fabulous recipes. There's all sorts of support. And the community is all about just opening up to how can you make your life better? Mm-hmm. How can you attain the lifestyle you're looking for? It's about food, but no, it's really about nourishment on all the senses, you know. So come and join us over at Nourish. We all are in there. Everyone's actively participating. We see some awesome movies on Sunday afternoons, and there's all kinds of training videos, and Samantha's even trying to kill herself doing videos online.
In the kitchen.
I'm still trying.
They're awesome.
I'm done it.
Hey, what is awesome is knowing that we've all been there. We have
just my potato peeler.
All right. Well, it has been fabulous to talk to you ladies this evening. And I will see you all over in Nourish.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Bye, guys.